This is a chance for real talkers to put their hottest takes in front of this audience. That's right. It's the Flamethrower. These are real emails to talk@ryanjesperson.com, made possible by the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. And this one from Tammy, who wrote in, after I sat down in this studio with my former radio colleague and future, who knows, Rob Breakenridge, we started talking about Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, and, well, that got Tammy all fired up. She says, I've got some steam to blow off about a certain brand of wisdom that feels anything but wise. Let's call it out-of-touch entitlement, served up with a side of obvious privilege. Case in point, Breakenridge's take on Taylor Swift's award acceptance, suggesting she should have kissed Celine Dion's ring. Seriously? The audacity to impose some medieval concept of deference in 2024 feels hilariously disconnected from the world that we live in. Let's unpack this. Taylor Swift is out there redefining the music industry, breaking records, creating spaces for her fans to feel seen and empowered, and yet some old school gatekeeping mentality insists she needs to pay tribute in a way that feels more about nostalgia for somebody else's era than about respect. And let's not ignore the privilege here. Breakenridge, an old white guy, who had the luxury of sharing his opinions for decades on the radio, now lectures one of the most successful women in music on how she should conduct herself. This is the epitome of being blind to the shifting cultural landscape and one's own entitlement. So yeah, Celine Dion's a legend, sure, but does anybody actually believe that Taylor Swift isn't aware of or appreciative of the artists who came before her? These comments reek of a mindset where one generation insists on clinging to relevance by demanding reverence rather than just letting the next generation shine in their own way. So here's my flamethrower, Jespo. Stop pretending that being an old white guy automatically makes your opinions profound. Sometimes they might just be outdated. That from Tammy. What about this one from Lauren, who says, I just watched your interview, Jespo, with Max Fawcett. It was entertaining, which I guess is the point. I'm flabbergasted that anybody who knows anything about Grand Prairie would take this Wonder Valley idea seriously for more than 10 seconds. How on earth would you attract talent to a place 4 hours north of Edmonton, where it's so cold you can barely go outside? Housing's expensive, mediocre chain restaurants expect 22% tips for shit service. Lauren, and the main forms of entertainment appear to be excessive cocaine consumption, driving around with upside-down flags, and blatant racism and sexual harassment. Well, you're going to be hearing from their direct marketing agency. She says, I'm sure top tech talent from around the world can't wait to relocate to this paradise. She says also about that whiskey thing in the Sky Palace trying to draw Donald Trump to a meeting with Danielle Smith. Donald doesn't drink alcohol. Maybe the booze hounds who run this place should keep that in mind. That from Lauren, who has no problem saying what she thinks.
We'll get him a Diet Coke.
What about this one?
He loves the cola.
Big Max, the Big Arch. What about this one from John? You remember when Premier Danielle Smith responded, or she was asked about Donald Trump's comment when he called the Prime Minister Trudeau governor of the 51st state of Canada, and then Smith said she thought it was hilarious? Well, John didn't. John's using all caps and exclamation marks. He says, I've got family members who served honorably in our military. My grandparents served during World War II, and I am extremely offended by that jackass down south disrespecting our great nation. Now, whether or not we agree with Trudeau's politics, his decisions, or dislike him even personally, Orange Windbag's comment of the governor of Canada is disrespectful to our great nation. We live in the greatest country in the world. Sure, we have our issues, but we have a quality of life second to none. Why? Because great folks sacrificed their lives so we can enjoy our freedoms. And the premier laughing at that comment is distasteful. She couldn't put aside partisan politics for 30 seconds to remind all Canadians of how proud we should be. John says, I love Canada. I'm proud to be Canadian. And when some foreign leader disrespects our great nation, it pisses me off. But what makes me even more angry is when a provincial leader thinks it's funny. It was gutless. John signs off. An angry Albertan. We get that, John. We get it. And finally, this from Anne, who says, I'm so tired of the Donald's bully tactics. Why can't Canada fight back? Trudeau could have said, we invite you to become the first premier of just some of the states. Or he could have said, we would love to secure our borders, but first you, Mr. Trump, must remove all guns from crossing into Canada. And yes, if you do not, we will end the flow of oil and choke off your country. Why can't we fight back with our own rules of engagement? Are we really that afraid of King Donald? Or are we just too nice and friendly to stand up to the bully? Anne says, I know that we could be the leaders of the newly emerging free world if we just use the steps that stop bullies from bullying. And by the way, she says, Poilievre won't do it. He'll buckle faster than Trudeau has. That lily-livered bunch in the Conservative Party and the UCP too, just kowtowing to the king. That from Anne, who sent her email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. You can do the exact same thing, and you could be featured in an upcoming episode of The Flamethrower, presented by the DQs in Palisades, Namao, Newcastle, Westmount, and in Sherwood Park on Baseline Road. Real Talkers, we want to thank you for joining us on this episode. Shout out to these top 40s and to the rest of our group chat hanging out in studio, all put together by the best damn producer in the business. That's Johnny Infamous. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday.